I think when I was about 12 years old, I first picked up the guitar because I heard Van Halen on the radio, and the sound of Eddie Van Halen's guitar just kind of went into my brain and reprogrammed it like a computer. And all of a sudden, the only thing that I wanted to do was play music. So I studied the guitar and I just kept trying to become a better guitar player and a songwriter. I started to learn how to write songs, and pretty much Living Between the Lines is my new solo album, and it's the first solo album that I've ever done. For most of my career, I've been a band guy. I'm either the singer of the band or the guitar player of the band, or I form a band, but I was always a band guy and a kind of I thought like a team player. But I've been doing this for a long time now, and I've written a lot of material with a lot of different groups and a lot of different artists. And I wanted to be able to just sort of go out and play any song that I've written for my whole life, my whole catalog, and not have to worry about what band it was with. So I figured if I did a solo record, I could start off with some new material, and then when I go out and tour and play in concert, I could play songs from all of my bands: Streetwalkin, Cheetahs, Trading Aces, James Williamson, Eddie Spaghetti, the new solo record. So it kind of gives me like freedom as a songwriter and performer. What am I going to say to them? Well, I try not to talk too much because I don't speak fluent Spanish. So if I talk too long, half the audience has no idea what I'm talking about. So I usually try to keep it hola amigos, I just kind of keep it very simple. But when I play the concerts, I'll be playing songs off of my solo record, plus some songs from the Streetwalkin' Cheetahs, plus some songs from my band Trading Aces, some stuff I wrote with Eddie Spaghetti, some stuff I wrote with James Williamson, and I'll try to really let the music do the talking. Oh, sure. Well, geez, I mean, this tour only just started, so I haven't really had any funny moments yet, but don't worry, it will happen. But man, I mean, I've been touring my whole life. I've been touring since I was a teenager. I've had all sorts of crazy stuff happen. I mean, one time we were staying at a hotel in America, and there was a knock on the door, and we opened the door, and a guy put a gun in my face and tried to rob us on the spot. I had another time when I was on tour with the Streetwalkin' Cheetahs, and I was going through the crowd with my guitar, playing, and I knocked over somebody's beer. And after the show, when I was by myself in the parking lot loading out my equipment, these big, huge guys came up and said, "Hey, man, you knocked over my beer." And I went, "Oh, sorry, I'm in a rock and roll band. I'm playing the music. I'll buy you a beer." And they said no, and they pulled out knives, and they were basically going to stab me in the parking lot because I tipped over their beer. And just as I was about to get murdered, this band that we were on tour with, Betty Blowtorch, stepped out like superheroes and said, "Hey, he's with us. You mess with him, you got to mess with all of us." And the guys went, "Oh, okay." They ran away. So it's life and death out there. I think my favorite song is a song called Blue Radio. It's very different than what I normally do. For the most part, I'm known for playing music that's more fast and loud and aggressive, rock and roll, punk rock, heavy metal. Um, but I really on this record wanted to sort of expand my sound. So there's some bluesier stuff and some soulful stuff. And Blue Radio is just a pure pop song. Like it was written to be a pop song in the way that like an Amy Winehouse song or a Beach Boys song, just something that it doesn't matter if you like punk rock or heavy metal or hard rock or whatever. If you just like a good song, something you hear it once and yeah, that the Blue Radio, you're walking around humming it. So I just tried to write the most pure pop song I could, but of course it's me, so it's still gonna sound kind of rock and roll. But yeah, Blue Radio, that's probably my favorite song on the record. Those are all really good friends of mine, so it was really easy to work with them. In fact, all of the reason why I chose those three vocalists to sing with me on the record is that I have a very sort of significant relationship with each one of them, and each one of them played a very significant role in the early part of my career. So when my band, the Streetwalkin Cheetahs, first started playing around Los Angeles, the Bell Rays were one of the bands that we first played a gig with, and we just kind of fell in love with them and became really good friends. So Lisa from the Bell Rays and I have we've collaborated over the years. We've done some songs, but this song we wrote together, which was fun. That's something we hadn't done before. We hadn't written a song together. We'd sang before. Cherie Currie, she's a legend. She's from the Runaways. And the first song that the Streetwalkin' Cheetahs ever played in a rehearsal was Cherry Bomb by the Runaways. And so me and Dino Everett from the Streetwalkin' Cheetahs, we went to go see Cherie Currie in concert, and we were like little fanboys. Like we brought our albums and we brought a marker, and we were like, Cherie, we love you so much. Will you sign our record? And as she was signing our records, we said, we started a band, and the very first song we ever played was Cherry Bomb, and we're going to be at this club next week playing it. And she goes, oh, maybe I'll come and sing it with you. And we didn't actually think that she would, but she did. She came a week later and jumped on stage with us and sang Cherry Bomb, and we became friends. And that moment and her continuing to sort of talk about the band really helped us go from like a band no one had ever heard of to a band that Cherie Currie from the Runaways was saying, like, you got to see this band. So that kind of helped establish us. And then Eddie Spaguetti, in the early days of the Streetwalkin' Cheetahs, was one of the first established artists who saw us play and was like, you guys are great, you should come on tour with me. And he took us out with the Super Suckers for our first, not our first, but one of our first like long national tours. So each one of them were very helpful in the beginning of my career. So now that I've known them so long and I'm finally making a solo record, I wanted to have some people that sort of were like significant, that meant something to me, and they're all wonderful vocalists as well. Well, I mean, I think even being a musician and doing it as a living is my dream come true. When I was a kid, I wasn't, young boys are all taught and sort of told you have to go into sports. Sports, you got to play baseball or football or basketball or run something. Sports, 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 especially in America. All little boys are told they have to go into sports. And I was terrible at sports. I sucked. Everything I tried, I was not good in. But when I picked up the guitar, I was instantly kind of pretty good at it. And I remember this kid said to me, wow, you're a natural at that. And I've never had anyone at that point in my life tell me I was a natural at anything. If anything, it was always like, you're terrible. And so suddenly this thing, music, which I loved, and this instrument, the guitar, which I thought was so cool, was something that apparently I was good at without even having to try very hard. So I kind of dropped everything just to continue playing guitar. And at that point, my dream was like, boy, wouldn't it be cool if I could travel the world and play music like like Eddie Van Halen. And here I am, 40 years later, from that moment as a kid, and I am traveling the world playing music, and that's what I do for a living. That's what I do for my job, and so this is my dream come true. Talking to you right now, this is it. This is my dream come true. This is Frank Meyer. You are listening to Wow, Wow, yes.